January 9th, 2025, Darci's Corner, Part 2. I want to talk about queer representation and stuff in the 80s and 90s. Especially, I've just watched a Netflix special on Jerry Springer. And, I mean, some of you watching this weren't around in the 80s or 90s, but trust me, there wasn't a lot there for us to go on. I didn't even know about trans until I was 11 or 12. Like, even though I knew I was a girl on the inside up till 10, the first trans representation I ever saw was Silence of the Lambs. I think I was 11 years old, 10 or 11 years old, probably 11, when I saw Silence of the Lambs for the first time. And I probably shouldn't have been watching that movie, but I did. And I remember watching the scene where, the guy tucks his thing between his legs and he's dancing in front of the mirror. And I was fascinated and horrified at the same time. Right? And I didn't know why I was fascinated with this disgusting person who was killing people and wearing their skins and all these other horrible horror movie stuff it's not real. Okay, that's not a real representation of trans people. But that was all I had. And then a little while later, there was Ace Ventura. And I didn't even really think about that as being trans representation at the time. But that was like a spoof. And it was funny, mostly. But the trans person in that was the villain, right? But it was a joke. It was played off as a joke. And look, they're tucking it between their legs and whatever, they belong in a mental hospital, and they were in a mental hospital. It's part of the story. So I had Silence of the Lambs, I had Ace Ventura, and then after that, we had the Jerry Springer Show, where every trans person on there was a freak. And ding, 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 and they would get beat up on stage, either by their boyfriend or by their boyfriend's girlfriend. And that was all we had in the 80s and 90s for representation for trans people. So I didn't even know we were a thing. I didn't even know we were real. I remember people talking about us and saying that we were fake and it's not real and people are just making it up and those are just men. And sure, there was, dirty magazines with pictures of trans people in the back. But again, Photoshop, right? We didn't have computers very much back then. But we did have Photoshop, so we knew pictures could be fake. I wish I had had a path to follow. I wish I could have told somebody. If I would have told my family at the age of 10, I'm a little girl, and I want to be raised as a girl, and I want to live as a girl now. You know what they would have told me? No, you're not. You're confused. Where'd you see that? Was that on TV somewhere? Where are you getting that idea? They would have thrown me in the loony bin. They would have taken me to a bunch of psychologists. They would have done conversion therapy on me. That's what they would have done. Had I told anybody, I didn't tell anybody. Because I didn't feel safe telling anybody. And there wasn't anybody I could tell who would have helped me. My parents and my grandparents were both sets of loving people who raised me, but they all believed that queer was wrong. That was what they believed at the time. That was what they taught. And I didn't know the difference between trans and gay. At the time, I thought I was a little bit gay. I wasn't. I was trans. Now I'm also gay. Or bi, if you will. I like women. And I am one. But the reason my voice is so deep is because testosterone deepens your voice. And when it lengthens your larynx, it makes your voice go deeper. And then there's nothing they can do to fix that after the fact. Well, that's not entirely true. There's an operation that'll shorten your larynx, which will changes the tone of your voice. Still won't be quite right though. And you still have to do some voice training and stuff. So anyway, that's why my voice is deep and there's nothing I can do about it. It's because the testosterone that was in my system up until I was 39 has already done what it's going to do. That same testosterone broadened my shoulders. That same testosterone gave me facial hair. And those are things that don't go away just because you take estrogen. There's nothing I can do about my shoulders. And there's very little I can do about my voice. I can, if I have the funds, go to laser hair removal and get the hair removed from my face that way. But it's painful. I can only do it in the wintertime. In this particular winter, if you're following my series at all, I'm going through a bunch of financial hardships. So all the money I had saved to go do that is now gone because these guys are forcing me to move. So that means I have to put off my transition process one more year because of these jerks that they're making me move. Isn't that nice? Nothing I can do about it until next year. I can't do it during the summer because the sunlight screws up the complexion on my face and the laser doesn't work. The point is, transitioning is expensive, it's time consuming, and it's painful. In order for me to get my face more feminized, and actually it's feminized quite a bit from what it was. If you watched my earlier videos, I am a different person now. But you can still see my masculinity. And there's nothing I can do about it. It's very, very frustrating. But if I had started this when I was 15, when I was 16, if I had been able to start learning female mannerisms when I was 10, then I would sit right. I would talk right. My voice would not be what it is. My shoulders would not be as broad as they are. I'd still be tall. Relatively tall. Fighting this as an adult is hard. Fighting this in your 30s and 40s is insanely hard. For some of us. Some people are lucky. They'll transition in their 40s and within a couple of years you can't tell. I clearly was not that lucky. But you play the hand you're dealt. And you just move forward.